Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Happy afternoon, happy Thursday, everybody. Lunchtime today, I spoke about all the Lucas legal labyrinth. I do like alliteration in my titles. Club denying that they're helping him put together his legal team. According to an article in the Sun, it did say that that the club had appointed Nick DeMarco as a one of the representatives for Lucas in his hearing, but the club denied they have done that, saying that actually it's just Lucas's team who hire and fire their legal representation. So anyway, it's Hammers Headlines in association with the KUMB.com, boys. 3 stories, as you can see. So let's get into it. Oh, and I've come around. There we go. Hey! So I want to start with talking about Niclas Füllkrug. Obviously, we know we're in the international break now, as we know, and it was the last international break that Niclas got injured in warm up against. It was Ajax, wasn't it? Ajax Stadium. He went off, and we haven't seen him on the West Ham pitch since. We reported a few weeks ago that it was likely that he was going to be back in time for the Tottenham game. And then there was reports that he might need surgery, which came a bit of left field. According to Sean Wheatson, he says Niclas Füllkrug may not be in contention to return from his injury layoff against Spurs next Saturday. He claims that a Hammer source has stated anything could be possible with regards to the German international, with an operation also a possibility. However, still no clarity as to whether or not that is the path to recovery from his Achilles injury. He wrote on Twitter saying, club sources are in the dark over claims that Niclas needs an operation. The club source insisted they have heard nothing about any West Ham player requiring an operation, but admitted anything was possible. How does that make sense? The last medical update the club was told is Fullkrug is expected to be back on or near the bench, so just to the left of the bench, for the away trip against Spurs. It seems that his return has hit a bit of a snag, and it seems there might be a setback in his recovery from his injury. But there's optimism about him being close to returning, possibly as an even featuring against Spurs next week. This sort of ambiguity has obviously led to speculation that there was a misdiagnosis, or we needed further evaluation, or there were scans, or there's obviously something not quite right. It always happens every so often. We get an injury, we never hear about anything. Cornet, I remember Cresswell. Didn't Cresswell bruise his coccyx and was out for weeks, wasn't he? A couple of years ago, if I remember, when he bashed it against the post. There's a lack of clarity, obviously, from the club in terms of these rumours, and it underpins sort of quite a fluid situation. So whether they've had to take more scans or anything, I don't know. But it does seem it's not all cut and dry like we thought it was. But when is it ever a case that is for West Ham? But that sort of filters through to our next story. So possibly as a reaction to the news about Niclas Füllkrug, and maybe, if he's having an operation, couldn't be back, might not be back until midway through next year, in terms of the severity of the operation. We're in mid-October now. It might be February, March time potentially, and then we could be a bit short. Because of that, West Ham have been linked with, according to my favourite Spanish media outlet, Fages, with the former Villarreal striker, now Atletico striker, Alexander Zorloff. Now, he was someone we were linked with, back in the summer transfer window before we purchased Niclas. He finished a great season in Spain. He grabbed 23 goals and 6 assists in 34 games. Decided to move to Atletico Madrid for, at the time, 32 million euros, but hasn't really had much impression. He's had three assists from 11 appearances for Atletico Madrid. And according to Vizijas, he's found it difficult to get into Diego Simeone's team. He's not been able to adjust to their style of play, which is based on a very strong defensive base and quick transitions. Within the region striker not firing all cylinders, he has been forced to start the majority of the games on the bench. The 28-year-old is starting to regret his decision, apparently, to move to Atletico Madrid. Reports have linked him with a move away from the club and from La Liga on the whole, with sources close to Alexander concerned about his career getting derailed, and they're looking for a way out for him. West Ham have emerged as a possible destination for the left-footed striker. As I said, we were interested in him in the summer. It's believed that Julien is a fan of the former Villarreal striker, and obviously with the team struggling, with the team struggling for options as well, potentially off the bench, it is thought internally that Zoloff could solve quite a few problems with the option of maybe a loan deal in January with a permanent deal the following summer, potentially. Whether this coincides with this, because of maybe a more delayed time frame for Niclas's return, potentially. I mean, he's a big lad. He's physically imposing. He's a clinical striker, very similar to Niclas Füllkrug, to be honest, but a few years younger, obviously. Would a loan deal be the worst deal in the world for us? A loan with an option to purchase potentially? I don't know, but whether it's as a result of this happening previously with Niclas, or whether this has always been on the cards, I don't know. But it does seem a bit coincidental, doesn't it? But then maybe that's me just putting two and two together and coming up with five. And lastly, let's talk about George Earthy. Now, according to Claret and Hugh, they state that there is no recall clause on his loan deal to Bristol Rovers. Obviously, we sanctioned a loan move to him in the summer when he was going to Bristol City on a season-long loan. There was, they did a big push from a social media perspective using sort of David Attenborough and what was it called? Well, that's that Earth program he does as sort of the main announcement video. And he has very much, been featured in the first team for us last season, a few games. Obviously, scored his first goal in the last game of the season as well. Opportunities have been limited for him, in all honesty. I mean, he has been injured as well. He has had an injury, and he's only played 3 times for Bristol City so far this year, 22 minutes. Again, there was even before the injury, there was a slight bemusement internally at West Ham, apparently, about his lack of action, according to reports, lack of first team. I think they assumed he was going to be more front and centre before the injury. Obviously, he's just come back from the injury. Was on the bench last weekend, just gone, played the last 5 minutes. And we look at someone like Freddie Potts, Freddie's played, almost back 90 minutes for Portsmouth. Callum Marshall's playing 70 odd minutes a game, starting. Where George is, the golden child at West Ham in terms of coming through into the pathway. Not so much action for him. Claret and Hugh reported there is no January recall option in the temporary deal that took him to Ashton Gate. But while there have been no specific clauses as such over a recall, West Ham and Bristol City could likely come to some sort of agreement, maybe over an early return to George, if this limited game time continues. Bristol City's campaign is ramping up a little bit, but they play Middlesbrough at the weekend. So again, with George returning to the first team squad, I would hope there would be a start, or if not a significant sub appearance for him for that game, and then going forward. But it's something we keep an eye on. I mean, the club have the loan managers who go around. I think Colton's still a loan manager who goes around and keeps an eye on them. I know the likes of Kenny and Kevin, and they're going to Huddersfield Towns and things like that to watch the players. Obviously, it's not this weekend; it'd be next weekend. Sorry, they play Bristol Middlesbrough because of its international duty. Where Callum Marshall's obviously playing for Northern Ireland and various others as well. So the academy sort of managers and coaches will be going out and watching the international games as well, and seeing even the guys on loan how well they're performing internationally as well. But it's it's a strange one with George. As I said, we'll wait and see what happens next weekend and going forward. But as I said, there's no recall in his deal at all. But is he benefiting? Would he benefit more? If he's only going to get on the bench and play the odd 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, he'd probably get out of West Ham. In all honesty, but we'll keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that for next weekend onwards. There we go. And that's it, my friends. Thank you very, very much for your for watching. If you like what we do, don't forget to give it a like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Obviously, it's an international break. We've got some cool things coming up. We've got some good player interviews coming up as well, hopefully next week. So keep an eye on that. Keep me going. Then we sort of getting ready for the Tottenham game, won't we? That'd be fun. And we'll also have our new series, Desert Island Games. That'll be starting this week, I think. But until next time, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble. Keep the faith and come you wines. If you're bored, if you've got nothing to watch, we've got our back catalogues of over 100 ex-player interviews. Go back and go through them. I guarantee there's something you probably missed. Much love. Bye-bye.